Okay, welcome back. We have Anthony Jukes, Tony Jukes, and Roscoe. That is Ross Duncan, the Dunkster. And if you were ever called Duncan, it would actually be applicable because you've got a bit of a basketball background. Just with your background, you've got a sports background. You've played AFL football, you've played cricket, and you've played various other sports. What would be your number one sport if you were to choose one, because you've got the cricket, football and basketball background? Which is your number one sport, buddy? I've never asked you this, by the way. This is the first time. Do you have a preference?
It's a really good question, and I was talking to my son about this today in the car. Cricket. I think I learnt to love cricket again post-Japan as I got older, watching tests and the art of cricket, the thought of cricket, the skill. And for me, it was my dad was president of our cricket club when I was really young, so it was the sport that I bonded the most with him. Like, footy is like a religion, and the Fitzroy, who I barracked for, was very religious for us. It's almost like you don't go to church, you go and watch your footy team. But it's been cricket, I think, since coming back. Yeah.
Can I give you a scenario? You're playing silly mid on, and I'm bowling half volleys outside of off stump at medium pace, and I was a bowler that was coming in, let's say, third drop bowler, bowling half volleys outside of off stump. What advice would you give a bowler who's actually setting you up to get a cracking ball through you? Do you ever talk? What advice would you have for a bowler?
Well, if I wasn't captain, I'd be asking the captain why are you bowling this bloke?
Have you ever played in a position? Have you ever played in a position where you've just thought, "Nah, I don't want to be in this spot. Could you move me, skipper, and put me anywhere but not here"?
Not for fear of life, but more for when you're playing, you're down at spine leg or third man, and you're like, seriously, I'm the best fielder in the team, and you've got me here or something. It was less about the fear, but more like the overinflated belief in your ability that you should be. Can I tell
you that I actually took the greatest catch in history? This is the truth. Can I tell you about my greatest catch in history day? It was playing in the Jaika League. Have I ever told you about my greatest catch in the history of cricket?
No, but we might read it at some point in Wisdom Cricket Almanac.
So anyway, I was the biggest dud in the team that wasn't getting a bat, wasn't getting a bowl, and was coming in like number 9 and, around there, fielding at long off. And a bloke, and while I was standing there, I was kind of like just drawing my name with my foot. I've told you this, I think, Tony, haven't I?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway,
remember that one.
Yeah, I was like writing my name with my foot on the ground. It's about 35 degrees, and there's the grandstand behind me. And anyway, everybody's yelled out, "Tony!" And the ball, I look up, and the ball's about 90 meters in the air, and I've gone back, like the John Dyson style, gone back, jumped up, and caught it with one hand on the boundary. All right, caught it with one hand on the boundary, and there was a few people there watching it. It was like in front of the people doing the scoring and stuff, and there was not one sound. Nobody said, "Well done." Nobody said, "Wow." Everybody just looked at me like that, and I showed them the ball, and just in disbelief. Anyway, as I was going back towards the huddle, as everybody, gathers together, the batsman walks past me, and he called me some abusive names, and he said, "You effing lucky person." Do you know what I mean? Like that, you could imagine the language that he used. And I said to him, "Yeah, I know." Anyway, that almost caused an all-in that could have caused an all-in brawl. I got back to the group, the huddle, and nobody said anything to me. Nobody said like, "What an amazing catch! That was the greatest catch in the history of the game." But I coined it that, and someone said, "Should we give him a bowl?" So that's confidence, mate. Cricket is a confidence game.
I'll give you a quick story about putting someone in the wrong spot or bowling down half volleys. Byron Cooney, our friend, Byron Cooney, it was my one and only game of cricket for Nova, because I was in all sorts of trouble with that organisation when I was working for them, and I thought, and it was like, if you play cricket, you're in. And anyway, we were down in Colbert, and my line was pretty good, but the old mate had his eye in, and he's just going cross bat, off stump, taking it, and Byron Cooney was the keeper. And he kept smashing like fours into mid wicket. And the dude, after about the fifth ball, old mate he was sledging me, my own teammate. Anyway, later on, I was talking to Baz after the game. He's like, you were doing all right. And Baz was like, to his credit, he was really giving me encouragement. I was trying my best, and my line was okay, but I was absolutely getting tonked. And old mate at mid-wicket, I don't think he was fearing for his life, but I think he was getting jack of, and then trying to get it over. Yeah, and there was no catches. It was all fours and sixes. And
yeah, it was a touch of Peter Garrett the way you came into bowl then. A little US Forces give the nod. US Forces give the nod. Bowled him, got him, gone.
They just cricket. They just mean it all. I missed them. They played in Cairns and Coranda.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that would have been a good one to get.
Because actually, me and you, Walshy, we went past there, and Minot Oil was on this. Yeah, I didn't go.
That's right.
My mates went.
That's right, we did. Yeah.
At Coranda Amphitheatre, I saw John Butler Trio there. It's my favourite venue on earth.
Yep. If by the way, if you do ever play cricket, you're going to have to give us some advice, Ross, because you're a cricket player at the moment and the only one that's actually playing. I talk about my times when I was 17 years old and taking one-handed catches on the boundary, but you're actually in the field right now, week to week.
How was it today, Ross?
Going to training.
Friday night.
It was under 18s, Will's team. We batted and only made 120 in 40 overs. The guys 120, 130. Yeah, they batted really slow. Not really good. Will didn't bat. He normally comes in about 8 or 9 because he's the opening bowler. So I don't know. Next week we'll find out. I don't know what pass score is for that particular ground, but 130 seems like it'll be a tough total to defend.
So Roscoe, tell us about you, mate. You're at HQ, ANZ HQ. You were talking about rugby before, and have you got a few Kiwis in the office there? Because ANZ being Australian New Zealand bank. Have you got a few?
Yeah. It's a large Kiwi workforce. Quite a few of them start working with ANZ. National Bank in New Zealand was taken over by ANZ maybe between 5 and 10 years ago. So quite a few of them. Once you're within ANZ, within the umbrella, you can sort of move across. So my national manager, my boss, is a Kiwi who came across with ANZ. So yeah, there's a few of them. It's a very Melbourne. We were talking about that before, Tony, around the Melbourne being multicultural. My team that I look after, so there's I've got like 15 people, but as far as Anglo-Saxon, there's me and a chap I just hired, but the rest of the team are of foreign background, so Asian or Indian or Muslim, yeah, which is one of the great things. So yeah, in ANZ, of the, and I don't know if it's 50,000 employees, most of them are not in Australia. So it's one of the great things about living in Melbourne. We really do have a really diverse population, and something growing up in Fitzroy and Collingwood, I've always had friends who were of different ethnicities. So I think it's helped me to be able to understand people a bit better and be less culturally centric, when you kind of judge everything with the lens that you were brought up on, which is the cause of war or fights or bickering or malice and all those types of things. But you grow up with enough people from different backgrounds, you kind of learn to just accept and empathy. That's the whole thing I was talking to you guys about Blade Runner recently, and around Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the book. It's all about empathy and how important empathy is to a person and to you as whether it's a father, husband, brother, sister, employee, employer.
Would you say someone xenophobic would be able to survive in a place like Collingwood, Fitzroy, Northcote, those suburbs within Melbourne? If you were a xenophobic person, would you be able to survive now, or would you get not tolerated? You've got to be able to adapt.
But yeah, they're not as prevalent. Yeah, absolutely. They'd have a real struggle. So I went to Fitzroy High in the 90s, and it was Spot the Aussie was the reference. So even then in the 90s in Fitzroy, I reckon the sort of Anglo-Saxon or the white Australian at the school made up 10%, if that, of the school population. So yeah, it becomes even tougher as the years go on. And you've got the commission flats, you've got the high rise in Fitzroy, Collingwood and Carlton. So every time there's a war or a famine or whatever it is in a foreign country, Australia will open its borders as part of an empathetic governmental policy to help out those countries. And then they come through those commission flats. So you were part of it as well. You kind of get back in the sort of initially it was the Greeks and Italians post World War II, then it was the Yugoslavs and the other guys. So Yugoslavs and Europeans, which were kind of 60s Tito regime in Yugoslavia. Then 70s it was Vietnamese, Chinese were sort of still flooding in, Africans later 90s. So yeah, in a suburban Melbourne area with the commission housing, which would house the refugees as they came through, basically you just keep getting the next influx of people from a country escaping whatever horror they are to build a new world. And so for me, living there from 1973 to the sort of pre-Japan 1999, so those first 26 or 27 years, I think I was fortunate that I had friends from all over the world, Chile, Argentina, and helped me to grow and accept people, helped me to understand culture a bit better. Yeah. Does that answer the question or the thoughts there?
Yeah, well, it is, and it does. And if you're in a position where you have to you have to go to school and you have to associate with diverse cultures and just blend, then it's not really a choice. It's just that's the environment that you live in. So it's something that probably your teachers and your teachers, like leaders in the community, just naturally said, look, this is how it is. And a lot of people, interestingly, believe that the working class, which that would belong to, I think of myself as a working class guy, a lot of people think that the working class are the people who create culture in a place, but it's actually not. It's the middle class. The middle class people create culture. They're the people who middle class people are the people who teach, the politicians, the newspaper, the journalists, the people who are working in society. These people create. So there's some of these people that probably don't get a lot of credit for giving people a go, and I think that's part of the Australian culture is to give a bloke a go. And not everyone does. Like, I've got to say that there are a lot of people who won't give you a go, but no matter where you are from, there is someone who will give you a go and you'll get an opportunity, which doesn't happen in other countries.
The fair go is what we were brought up on.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it really is.
You're right. It's happening in other cultures. It's like literally you are of a religious persuasion or you're of a potential colour. You know what? We might ethnically cleanse you because we don't think that you should live in our world. But yeah, we have the concept of a fair go. I certainly was brought up on it and always believe that we should have it. But is that now stretching to a sense of entitlement, or is that sort of the right way to be?
It's the right way to be, mate. I reckon.
Well, there's in England, oh, sorry, I just interrupted you.
In England, we talked about meritocracy before. We were talking about Tuffy Rhodes, and just have a crack. Look, get him out, and how the Japanese wanted to protect the record, but it taints the record, doesn't it? It's tainted.
Yeah, that's an asterisk.
It's tainted now because we're Tuffy because of the way they behave. So yeah, meritocracy. I mean, all power structures will corrupt from the top, and a fair go. It's not entitlement. It's like, are you good enough? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not good enough, you're going to be out. You still can sack someone. Anyway, that's my view. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Back, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think we should have fair goes. Inherently Australian.
In England, they have a 3-tier class system where you have your working class, middle class, and aristocracy, and there's generally very little movement between the three. So if you were born into a certain area, that's basically your calling in life is not going to move. That's where you're going to stay. So that's why, you know, there's an interesting group of people who came were the ones in the 70s, and the next group have come now. Interesting
group of people, like the 10-pound poms or
the 10-pound poms. So the poms made up about 50%, the Irish about 10%, Germans, Dutch, and then Italians, Greeks, as you mentioned, Turkish, all the different European countries, and now we're getting a new group, and now we're getting a new group from other walks of life, and it'll be interesting to see how it's gonna pan out, because places like Sweden are they're changing now. They believe that they've opened the gates, and now things are not going as they thought they would. So, you know, it's an interesting situation, but you know, that's the Australian way. Maybe the societies are more adapt to be able to accept diversity because of the background, because it's happened for the last 200 years or 100 years, particularly over the last 100 years, that people have been coming.
Very unique in the fact that, apart from the Indigenous population, we've all kind of just rocked up here over the last couple of 100 years. So everyone's really an immigrant. Just might have been here in a wave earlier than the previous ones. So we don't have 500 or 1,000 years of culture. You can't walk into a pub like you can in England and have a pint in a pub that was around during Oliver Cromwell's days.
But what you can do is you can have a pretty good beer in Australia, you know, but you don't have you don't have such variety. You know, like, so if you go into a pub in Australia, generally you'll just have a lager. Do you know what I mean? Like, you won't go in and say, I might have a pint of Guinness, or I might have a Caffrey's, or I might have a...
Now, man, like the craft beer, it's insane. You got like 10 taps now. So you really are not spoiled for choice. You're kind of confused by choice.
Yeah, well,
really,
you know, back when I first started drinking, it was if you were going to go to the pub for a beer, he'd say, do you want tap beer or the beer in the fridge? Yeah. And it was either VB or Carlton, and he'd give you a choice: VB, Carlton, or Foster's, and he'd be like, "Mate, you're confusing me. Just get me a beer." That was what it was like when I first started drinking. Don't confuse me. Or
if you're exotic, you go to Melbourne Bitter.
Yeah, yeah. That was a pretty hard drink. That one. That was the Melbourne Bitter. Yeah, some places.
Melbourne Bitter was kind of your real Fitzroy, Brunswick artists sort of. Yeah, I'm pretty cool. I'll drink the red can, communist.
Did you ever go for a pub crawl around Fitzroy, Collingwood, around that area, around those pubs around there? Did you ever do a pub crawl?
I think I did most weekends. Not necessarily pub crawl, but yeah, life existed for drinking at different pubs. But yeah,
was there a particular one that would say, you know, there was a few back streets that had a few kind of like nice little like atmosphere in there, you know?
Or a few of the other ones. Yeah. Yes.
Because I remember that we were, me and you had a beer after a Melbourne Cup, I think it was a few years ago. Me and you had a beer in the Brandon Hotel in Carlton, and we just sat down and we had a beer. We probably had about
just down street.
Yeah, and you said to me, this is the sort of place that I like to come to, just to sit down and have a beer. You know, just nothing. It doesn't have to be jumping and all that. It's not all happening. It's just to sit down and a beer. And I think it's probably true, isn't it? Just to relax and have a beer. And I think that's a great thing, a bit of city life.
Yeah, I love a pub that has sometimes you just on a Saturday, you go, the footy's on a TV screen, you got the races, you might just sort of have a counter meal and just some good mates to have a drink with. And I think that's not unique to Australia or Melbourne, but that sort of stuff's good fun.
Yeah, well, there's nothing here in Japan. There's no counter meal. There's an Aussie bar. There's a guy who has an Aussie bar, and he went to the same school that I went to in Highton. So he's from Geelong, and he runs an Aussie bar. No TAB, of course, but I think you can bet online now. Are you a betting man? Do you gamble on horses or footy, or what do you gamble on?
Lifetime.
Do you gamble?
I come from a family of gamblers. My whole family gamble. I don't. They back they bet on the horses and pokies and all that sort of stuff. I don't. Last week I had a punt on at the races. I'm going to go to Derby Day in a couple of weeks, we went to Derby Day. That was the day after you were just talking about down in Carlton. So I'm going to Derby Day, which I haven't been to since that same time, Tony.
Here's a question for you as well, mate, and I hope you have a good time at the Derby Day.
It won't be like the one we had, but yeah.
If you were to put a bet on, would you rather bet $100? Let's say you had $100 and you really wanted to make money. Would you put $100 on the favourite and make sure, even if it was only paying $1.10, you're only going to get $10 back? Would you rather get $10 back and put a big $100 bet on and guarantee basically a favourite? Would you do that, or would you rather go for the 5-1 and do like 4 little bets or something like that and try to go for the 5-1 and win that way?
I can't answer that because I think I gamble more than that question will allow me to answer, because that's a hypothetical and I get what you're saying, but it would have to, I have enough people who are around me who are invested in horse racing or who are professional punters that there are occasions where I'll put $500 on a horse because I'm guaranteed it will, as much as you can be guaranteed. I might put $500 on to win 300, but it's a guaranteed thing. There have been times where I have bet with emotion because it's a family friend's horse, where you just think it's going to do it. So all of the above. In short, I've put $1,000 on a horse at low odds because someone I know knew that the horse would win, and it's won to win me 700 or whatever it was.
What was the name of the horse?
Was it Flying Cotton? It wasn't Flying Cotton, was it?
No.
Flying Cotton.
I painted it. Back in about 2009 or 10. Okay, so I was trying to buy an Omega watch, and the watch I wanted was $7.5K, and I wanted to pay for it out of horse winnings. So I had my boss at the time, who I won't say his name. His brother is a professional gambler, and he has at his house 10 screens in his office, and there'll be 10 different race events, baseball, different things. And so he literally sees it as, all right, what's my investment? He won't back the $5 chance, Tony. He'll be on the $1.10, $1.15 because it's a blue chipper as opposed to the risk. So, and he and I don't know how much privacy is here. I haven't mentioned names, but he paid like $400,000 for a computer algorithm that helped him with choosing horses that he's been using. Now he has about 15 or 16 investment properties that have been funded via the winnings, so he's doing okay.
It's not illegal.
He doesn't bet massive, and there'll be so Winks tomorrow or whatever. He might not even bet on Winks. There might not be enough value, but he'll go on a $1.45 favourite and load up $10,000, knowing that it might make him 12 or 13. So it literally, he's got it down to real investments, a long-term strategy.
Yeah. It's something I've thought about doing, and I haven't done it, and I probably won't. But I thought about, doing like the football gambling on the footy, and I thought, it would be an idea. Now, I've never done it, but is to say, right, what I'll do is I'll analyze the game. I mean, like inside out for like 10 weeks, and put one bet on. Like put a, like every year there'll be one game, because Tony's a Geelong supporter, for example, and they'll win like 9 games in a row or something, and they're going to lose. You just have this, like the momentum of they're due for a loss.
Injury.
And
motivation.
You're invested in your club and or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's just that time, and the other team will be paying 8-1, and I'm always thinking, right, I tell you what, there's every year you can almost pick St Kilda to beat somebody, or you can almost pick that.
Your team can get up against. So for Brisbane Lions, it's Essendon. I always think this year the Bombers could be undefeated. I know we'll beat the Bombers because we have the wood on them. But if it's Hawthorn, we haven't beaten them since 2007 or 6 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Even still, so that wins. So even against Hawthorn, so you might not have beaten them for 7 years or something, or 10 years or whatever it is. So, but you just think, right, this year I could just... Yeah. So, and anyway, I was thinking, do you know what? It may be an idea, but this is the thing: is to go bang and put a massive bet on it, just that one bet. And I've always been curious about doing that.
Tell me, Walshy, and I'll put it on, mate, because I punt a lot in AFL and I'm doing pretty well, a lot better than I do on American football. And
I saw you balance,
super coach. What's that, bud?
I saw you balance. You've got a cash in the account.
I got what?
In the sports betting.
Yeah, I've got another account. I was going to say the biggest bet I ever made was $300 on black caviar, because if I put 300 on, they gave me $100 in bonus bets if she won.
Yeah.
And it was one of her last races. She got retired, like literally a race or two after. I had no idea that was going to happen. So I got in at the right time. But that account that got merged with William Hill. It was some other company, and I'm still chasing that money.
So this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing. What happens, right? I'll give you a tip, right? And I got this tip from a guy who lost a lot of money once. He said, when you're losing, like when you are absolutely losing and you think, I couldn't possibly lose 10 bets in a row, that's when you lose.
The hot hand.
He said it just couldn't happen. I couldn't lose 10 in a row. Yet you can. So if you're on the nasty, like you're doing the nasty run and just everything is just boom, just mate, stop, get out. Don't even, don't do that big last bet to balance it all up. That's the one that kills you. That's the advice that I got.
We've got to wrap it up. We'll be back in a minute, and we'll be talking about, what do you reckon? Footy.
Yeah, let's get to the footy and all the trades. And all the big changes. Geelong have made some big changes. They've got Ablett, the return of the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. He's naughty. He's a naughty